started. Why doesn't everybody grab a seat? Okay. Well, why don't you do it, boys? All right. So again, hello. Good morning to anybody who came who wasn't here earlier, which I doubt. So, but I'm glad you all stayed. We're going to be sticking to the typical format for annual meeting. The only difference will be the executive committee will not be all up here. Just to spread out would take too much space. So anybody who would like to speak, or anybody who has a speaking role in this, please use the lectern. And if you would, when we get to the kind of the question and answer portion of this, instead of passing the mic, if you just kind of speak clearly enough that I can hear you, then I'll just repeat the question if that arises. So I did the math, and I think I'm wrong, but I believe this is the 189th time we've gotten together to do this, something like that. It's been a while. So if you would just open us up with the reading of the warrant. It's just, this is, yeah.
The annual meeting of St. James's Episcopal Church in West Hartford, Connecticut will be convened on the 23rd day of January in the year of our Lord 2022 to receive all reports of clergy, staff, officers, committee, and program leaders, to elect wardens, clerk, treasurer, vestry members, and delegates to the diocesan convention for the coming term, and to conduct whatsoever other business which may bear on the ministry of this parish.
So I am missing one thing. Bear with me 1 second. I apologize. Jonathan, where are you? He was here a second ago. Can you for a second? Oh, never mind. I found what I was looking for. I was going to ask you to get it in my office. You may notice that I'm a little more disheveled than usual today. I fell on the ice really bad 2 days ago, and I'm in significant discomfort. So just bear with me. I don't have my typical cheery disposition. Instead of my hope is we'll forego the reading of the minutes. They're in here. Hopefully you had a chance to look at them from last meeting. Are there any corrections, amendments, additions, anything else that needs to happen to them before we vote on them? All right. Is there a motion that we accept them as presented? All in favor? Thank you. For those of you who are live streaming with us, I apologize. We do not have a voting function, but if you have any comments, you can put them in the comment piece of the live stream, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen, the messaging function, and Carrie will do her best to keep minutes and monitor that. So if you're not immediately addressed, please be aware that we're doing, I'm getting really tired of the expression, the best that we can. So excellent. Then the reports of all the committees that we have asked for reports from are all in here. And the first one that we should address is that of the nominations for vestry. First I'd like to thank those who are coming off of the vestry. And I'm not seeing what I thought I was going to see, but okay. For those coming off the vestry, we have, with the exception of Carrie, we have a complete turnaround in the executive committee. Claire will be coming off of her 3 years as senior warden. David Danowski's coming off of his 27 years as junior warden, his 7 years as junior warden. And Harry is coming off of 4? Six years. We took you right to the canonical limit, didn't we? So each position has a different canonical limit, and so they've all served that. Well, except for David, I had one extra. So thank you very, very much for your support, your help, your hard work. This has not been a good year to be a warden because it's just been different, but thank you so very much for everything that you've done. For those who are coming off the vestry, Doug Compton served a one-year term to replace Jane Good, who had 1 year left. Greg Jacobs is coming off of his 3-year term, and Chris Kiesling is coming off of his 3-year term. Thank you to all of you all for all your support and hard work as well. The folks who have been nominated to fulfill the person for senior warden's position for this coming year is Ted Newton. Junior warden is Tyler Smith. Clerk is Carrie Racian, and treasurer is Mike Sherrill. For those, and thank you for being willing to put your name in for these things, or being willing for me to put your name in for these things. And the vestry members for a 1-year term, Doug Compton's coming up for a 1-year term to replace Tyler as he comes over as junior warden. And for the 4 positions open for 3-year terms, Bob Boundsmith. Bob, can you just stand up, please? Ellen Dollar, Kim Hart-Kindleberger, and Judith Stahl, who is online with us. So is there a motion that we accept all these names as a single ticket? All in favor? Anyone no? Other than people being named? No, okay, excellent. Then wonderful, that passes. And thank you all very much for your willingness to have been on the vestry, and for those of you who are coming onto the vestry, and those of you who are currently on the vestry. So thank you again. Other reports, other than those of the wardens, are in here. Is there a motion that we accept them as presented? All in favor? Excellent. Claire, would you like to make your report, please? Thank you.
Good morning. This has been such an incredibly dark time for this parish. Right at a time where this is a parish that loves to get together for fellowship and food, and to rob that of us for these last 2 years has been unbelievable. Also at a time when we really needed to get together in prayer and song, we were also robbed of that. So we've come through a really dark period, but things ahead, I think, are looking really hopeful, and for that we have much to be thankful. Our first thanks have to go to Bob. He has worked so incredibly hard and had to switch gears and figure out a way forward in some really tough times, and he figured out the online, how to first of all, secure the online streaming materials, and then get it set up and working. And he hates to speak on it, but he's getting really good at it, so he'll probably miss it by the time we get around to not needing it at some point. But in addition to that, moving inside and outside for services, making sure that all our parishioners' our needs are taken care of, he and Priscilla have done an incredible job. And this position has given me a unique ability to see the incredible amount of devotion and time he gives to this place. So we really need to thank you very much, Bob. I want to thank the vestry, the outgoing. You have stepped up in so many ways in these last 2 years that have been so difficult for us. Formed the nucleus of our Moving Forward task force, kept a lot of the activities like the online Trivia Pursuit, which I hope many people will be coming to, Fall Fest to go, Chili Fest to go. All these activities have been possible because you've stepped up, and we're grateful for that. We're grateful to our parish clergy who have stepped in to assist Bob when he needed some time off. John Mittman, Borden Painter and Doug Cook, you've served and helped when Bob needed some much-needed time off, and we thank you for that. Jonathan Smith came to us when a time it was very, very difficult to find assistant clergy because there were just simply not graduations from the seminaries. And for Jonathan to come to us at a time when we really needed him, and his sermons have been just profound and wonderful. His sense of humor is right on, and he shows up for everything. He came to every activity we do, and he jumps in with full vigor. We're thankful for all of you who kept our mission and outreach programs going with food, with money, with time, and devotion to those. And we thank you for all you do for us. I want to thank also Vaughn Morin for switching gears, who's obviously not with us anymore, but to figure out how to keep the choir together and the music program going with the handbells was really kind of genius. And we actually found fun in it, and we got Ron Coons back in the choir, so that was pretty fun to have him back. At a time when we were having trouble finding someone to replace Vaughn, Cheryl and I did step up, and I really want to credit Cheryl with incredible playing during that time. The playing was beautiful, the amount of time she spent working on those pieces, the amount of detail in the background that you don't see, getting all the pieces and the names and the programs together to follow the liturgy. She took a great deal of responsibility, and thank you to Cheryl. I hope she's listening today. We're really excited to have Robert Fertitta join us. He's been, in just the 2 weeks I've worked with him, he's fun. He's a glorious musician, as you can see from his organ playing, and it's been a great privilege to have him. We lost some beloved parishioners this last few years, and we mourn their passing. We welcomed many, many new families, and we're so grateful that you're here, and many of you have jumped up and become part of the fabric of this place, and we're thankful for that. We can look forward now, I think, as Omicron is hopefully on the wane, and we'll get through this, and we'll fill this place with the laughter and voices of children and the voices of the choir coming back. I really want to thank the choir. When Cheryl and I took over, we were very committed to not dumbing down any of the music that they were going to perform. We wanted to make sure we gave them something to come back for, and they performed some pretty darn difficult repertoire, and they did it beautifully, so thank you. It was wonderful. As we move through to our next phase, we are so blessed to welcome Alan Murchie. Many of the choir members have had the opportunity to work with him, and he is not only a phenomenal musician, he's also a phenomenal priest, but even more so, he's just a phenomenal man, and I know you were going to love him and really enjoy working with him, so that's wonderful. We sadly will not have Jonathan with us beyond this year, but we're so pleased that we did get him for as long as we did, and hopefully we'll find another assistant in good time. And I want to thank, again, David Dynowski, who's so homesick today. I hope you're feeling better, David. He's been truly an incredible junior warden, has devoted an awful lot of time to this place, not only coming in on days when the weather's not good, but always overseeing and taking care of this property. And I know he's going to be a big support for Tyler, and thank you for taking that on. And to Harry Meyer, who has kept these finances and kept our books and checking on the finances, found a creative way to find some extra funds this year so we could raise Bob's base pay. It was wonderful. And you were going through some tough times in your life, and you stepped right up despite all that, so thank you. My best wishes to Ted Newton. He'll be a wonderful senior warden. I'm so glad that you're taking that on. And to our new, and congratulations to our new vestry members, Judith and Kim and Ellen and Bob and Dove, who's coming back again. I know you're going to do great things, and we look forward to getting past all this. Thank you for the honor and privilege of allowing me to be your senior warden. It's been my great joy. Thank you.
As Claire mentioned, David Danowski is not able to be with us today. He's home recovering from being ill, but he sends his best. and I'll speak a little bit to his role when I have my remarks. Harry, would you like to, please?
Just as the medical profession assesses the health of us as individuals by referring to quantitative measurements, so too here at St. James's, we measure our financial health by how our operating income and expenses meet budget projections. If they meet or exceed the budget numbers, there's a positive variance. And if they fail to meet those numbers, there's a negative variance. Our 2021 budget reflected the experiences that the church had had in 2020 operating in the pandemic environment. And Mike Sherrill did a masterful job of anticipating and forecasting the impacts that the pandemic might have on St. James's income and expense when he put together the 2021 budget. Although my reports to the vestry showed a negative variance to budget in 5 of the 7 months between March and September, the variance was positive in the last 3 months. In fact, it was so substantially positive that it permitted us to make a $37,000 extra payment at year end on the loan which the capital campaign had taken from the endowment fund. And we still wound up the year with a positive variance of slightly over $6,000. There were 3 major factors that contributed to this positive year-end variance. The first was the consistent and faithful generosity of the parishioners in face of their own pandemic-affecting pressures. In fact, our current year pledge income for the entire year was $1,300 over budget. The second factor was the departures of Tim O'Leary and Vaughn Marin. Those departures substantially impacted our personnel expense, reducing it by $27,000 below budget. And the third factor was that we increased the amount that we drew from the endowment fund by $34,650. For those who like to crunch numbers, there are plenty of them in the annual report, so that you can take a look at those exhibits and satisfy your craving for numbers. There were several other significant financial events here at St. James's in 2021. We paid down the capital campaign loan by a total of $87,000. The current balance of that loan is now $107,000. This will enable the church to reduce the amount that it budgets each year in order to pay off the loan in full by the end of 2028. Pursuant to the diocese requirement, we also underwent an audit of the church financial statements conducted by a qualified auditing firm in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. Although we don't follow those principles in a couple of respects, as a result, why we received the same kind of qualified opinion from the auditor that we had for the past 4 years. We were also notified that our paycheck protection loan of $70,315 that we obtained in 2020 has been forgiven in full. However, for purposes of calculating our diocesan assessment for next year, the forgiven amount has to be included in this year's operating income so that it will increase our assessment accordingly. The New England Guild, who manages our endowment portfolio, came out with the year-end figures just on Friday, and at year-end, that fund had $3,307,520, which resulted from a 12.2% gain for the year. I want to extend a well-deserved thank you to Ron Ward and his team of counters. They count, deposit, and report the weekly receipts that the church receives. Our financial secretary, Heidi Cotter, uses those reports to produce the monthly financial statements and to enter payments in the parishioners' contribution records. Thus, the accuracy of the counter's work is critical to the accuracy and validity of those statements and records. Finally, as I hand over to Mike, the treasurer's green eye shade and quill pen, and reflect on the past 6 years, I'm truly thankful for the opportunity to have served St. James's in this capacity. It's been interesting, challenging, fun, and on occasion frustrating. But it's given me a greater appreciation of and admiration for the dedication and professionalism of the entire staff, both clerical and lay, here at St. James's. Thank you.
Harry, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on finances? No. Just one thing you may have heard in there that I just want to maybe explain just a touch. Whenever I hear the word audit and we don't follow certain principles, it always makes me cringe, although I know the answer. So just so that you understand what's going on, two of the main ones are that we don't record or have the original value of the original corpus of the endowment. It's just too old. We just don't have it. And it was a gift many, many years ago. The other one is that we don't record prior year pledge cards as liabilities, right? Is that correct?
Under the GAAP rules, the year you receive a pledge is the year you should report it.
Okay.
We don't
Yeah.
carry over and report it the year that it's designated.
Okay. Great, thank you. So for those of you who didn't hear that, according to GAAP rules, the guidelines, when you give your pledge card to us in, I would say October, but that's like 4 of you. No, just kidding. But when you give your pledge card in, we're supposed to record that year. Well, that obviously doesn't make any sense in the church world because it's for the upcoming year. So that's the other principle that we don't follow. And these are all the cases with any church. I can't imagine how they do it any other way. So just to clarify that, I think that's an important note. Are there any other reports or any comments on what you've heard so far? Okay. As far as old business is concerned, I don't believe that we really have any. We didn't leave anything on the table last year. In fact, I know we didn't. As far as new business is concerned, I'm just going to address some things in my remarks in a minute. So that will probably represent mostly any new business that would arise, but there's nothing in particular along the business side of things that need to be addressed. So now I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and just, it's, when I got here, and I'm sure John, where are you? John was much better about this than I am, that there was a report, a clergy report. For those of you who know me at all, know that reporting in process is not my thing. I'd much rather kind of comment on where my head and heart are over the last year and as we move forward. So I'll do that, but while at the same time, anything that you have, comments or questions that you may have, if you need to, in the middle of my thought process, please interrupt. Today that may not work real well, so you may not want to. Otherwise, we'll give an open forum after I get done. So Claire, it was funny, I think Claire's head was exactly where mine was when she put her remarks together, so a lot of this is going to be redundant from what you heard from her. But I just wanted to, looking back for a minute, I was thinking in terms of kind of imagery and words that reminded me of the last year. And the first one that came to mind was loss, which is not really a word that I'm super comfortable with. Loss, seeing people don't think that I'm not being heard. I apologize, let me do this. Okay, so one of the first things that came to my mind when I was thinking about last year, I'm going to get lost. I'm talking about getting lost. I'm probably making Christine's life miserable up there, moving around. She's trying to video this. So the concept of loss is one that I think that if we're not careful can take us to a dark place that isn't terribly productive, helpful, or healthy. But at the same time, to ignore it, to just be in denial about loss, I believe is also not helpful or healthy. So I just want to acknowledge a couple of things that I believe have happened this past year. One, in actual physical loss, in the life and loss of life, we've had the passing of a number of very, very influential people in the life and spirituality and spirit of this place. And I just think we need to acknowledge that. We've had the opportunity to acknowledge it in funerals and in other ways, but just as literally as the business of the church. The church is not made up of all this, which is lovely, but this is a building. The church is you all. It's the folks who are watching us. It's the people who are not with us today. And so through the death of a few people, we lost a piece of us. And I think that that's really important to acknowledge and come to terms with as we move forward. And that's a reality of life. It will continue to happen. You know, as they say, the death rate is still 100%. But we need to pause and catch our breath and think about that as it happens. The other thing about loss, or the other things that we've lost, are kind of like what Claire was speaking to. As you know, I love my job. And for the most part, for two reasons. One is you, and two, there are very few people who get to actually fulfill what they believe they've been called to do. Now, that's not to say that doctors and nurses and accountants and lawyers and teachers are not fulfilling their calls in society, but there's something particular about the work that I have the privilege of doing. And the thing that's so peculiar or particular about it is how it's impossible to do by yourself. You have to do it with people. And so you're like, well, but he was talking about loss. What the heck is he talking about? What I'm talking about is the inability that we've had to actually be together and do stuff together to the extent to which we enjoy doing it, to the extent that we do it really, really well. We've continued to do our mission work. We've kept that at a high level. In fact, we've increased a lot of mission work that we've been doing. But just worship has been different. It's nice to see some folks back in the pews. We had started to grow back in numbers, and then with Omicron, we shrunk very, very quickly. It was amazing how fast the response was. And it's just nice to see some folks in the pews again, or more folks in the pews again. But even liturgy just feels different right now. It feels weird. It's the music is lovely, but not what we're used to. The masking, the lack of smiles. I've gotten better at reading eyes, but it's still, it's a thing. And then the fact that we don't get together and do education, and we don't get together and do food and stuff. So again, I think this has been a time of some loss, and there's an important part of that requires some grieving. But the other thing is it's opportunity. This has given us an opportunity, I hope, to hit the reset button. As we move forward, this too will pass, I believe. Everybody says so. So, maybe it'll be a new normal, whatever that means, but this too will pass. And so we will once again be able to get together and to laugh over a table and, to enjoy a glass of wine or a good bite of food together in large groups and large indoor settings. And I look forward to that. But more importantly, I think it's a reset for us to think about what's important. What's the important work that we've been called to do here at St. James's? How do we go about doing that in a way that's inclusive and affirming for everybody involved? And so that's going to have to be explored as we move forward, but I think that it's going to be very important that we keep that in mind. And on that note, one of the things that right now where I am most concerned is around stewardship. Our stewardship numbers right now are not good. Many of you have given extremely generously, and thank you so very much for that. But because there's been such a period of disconnect, a lot of folks have not pledged who are regular pledgers. And we really need, as a community, not just financially, but just as a community, we need to welcome people back into the fold in whatever form that takes. So when you see folks who you see them outside of here that you haven't seen in a while in church, invite them back, encourage them. Like I said, the building is not the church. We are the church. They are the church. We need to be together to fulfill this call that we've been given. One of the things that I think has come out of this past couple of years that has been really quite affirming for me is just the resilience that so many people have had, particularly older folks and little people. That it's been my life's been different last couple of years. I haven't been able to travel like I like to travel. I don't get to see you all as much as I would like to. But it's the folks whose health was truly, truly in danger, whose lives were in danger, and little guys who, it's just ridiculous what school and whatnot has been like. And it's really early in this for me to get all choked up. I usually say that till the end. But I think that's part of, if you are a teacher, or more importantly, if you are a parent of a young person, God love you. I cannot imagine what it has been like. I think about what it would have been like to get my kids through this. They're a pain in the ass on a good day. But I just can't imagine. So thank you for your commitment to community, to your schools, to your families, to us. It's just the resilience has been remarkable. There is a level of fatigue. I think that's what you're hearing in me right now. There's a level of spiritual and psychic exhaustion, not just physical exhaustion, in so many people. So we need to support each other. We need to lift up those who are really struggling, who continue to struggle. So many people are taking kind of where we are right now in different ways, and to not judge folks, who may be more or less conservative about how they handle all this. Just try to help everybody to be not just physically safe, but to be spiritually and psychically safe. I think it's really important. Flexibility, adaptability, unbelievable. I think Vaughn's not here with us today, but his flexibility and that of some folks, some choir members and some other people who have been able to pull this all together has been really remarkable. Christine Waterman and Olivia Shuey, actually they're both in my line of sight, but on different stories. I said to Priscilla the other day, I said, I'm just going to retire and let them run the place. It's just between the live streaming and the stepping up and the, Olivia acolyting like every other Sunday practically, and Christine so quick to recognize a need. And before I ask her, like today, she was, when we were talking about live streaming this, I was going to text her after church last week and say, can you do it? And I picked up my phone, and I don't even think she was out of the building yet. She's like, I'll be there, I'll do it for you. I'm using them as an example, but it's just been amazing, the flexibility and the adaptability and the willingness for people to step up. I am intentionally not going to do my litany of thank yous that I usually do, because I always miss somebody, and either they feel bad or I feel bad or we both feel bad, or it's just not good. So I'm not going to go straight through all that, but I will have some thank yous at the end of this. As I mentioned, patience has been a big deal. I'm not a super patient person. That may surprise you to hear. And this experience has just proven that much more. But you all evidently are, because you're still here and nobody's thrown anything at me recently. Just the patience of folks, because I think that it's important, but it's also a sign of that this is important, that you've been patient with it. Generosity. I mean, I'll be damned. This place, yes, I said what I said about stewardship. I still feel that way. We need to do better than what we're doing now. But the generosity, both financial and time and spirit of this parish is unbelievable. Your generosity to just, let me be me, let this happen the way it happens, is just been, it always is humbling, and it has been for the almost 20 years. This is, as you know, I'm into my 20th year now here. People say, what is St. James's like? And I'm like, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's a group of people who like each other. Not every church can say that. It's a church that has put up with me forever and doesn't seem done with me yet. And if you are, you're hiding it relatively well, most of you. So just the generosity of spirit and resources is just great. And I do want just a couple of quick thank yous. I've been blessed with a great staff. This church has a great staff, professional staff that does its job very, very well. I've been blessed with Jonathan's camaraderie this past few months, and look forward to the next few. It's just been really nice. He's fun to work with because we're such different people, but yet it seems to work. It's good. I'm glad you're here. And then the vestry, the executive committee, unbelievable. Again, adaptability, flexibility, generosity, it's all there. David's not able to be with us today. As I said, he's recovering from illness. But I just want to kind of poke at David for a second, because so much of what he does is never seen. He comes by here multiple times a week, checks all the doors, walks through the building, makes sure everything's in good stay. Tyler was unaware of the fact that David and I do the sidewalks when we have a storm. So now he's stepped up and is helping with that too. You may ask, why would two old men, a priest and this guy, want to do sidewalks? It saves us about $16,000 a year on a snowy year. That's huge. And these folks are willing to do that. If you ever have a big snow, text me or David or Tyler and say, I've got a shovel, I can get there, can I help? If that's something that you want to do. No, I don't care if you want to do it. If that's something you can, that's something you can do. We all, like we tell our kids, we all do things we don't like. But just the executive committee in general has just been really, really good and very supportive along with the rest of the vestry. This is the part where I get myself in trouble, so I've said I'm not going to do it, so I'm not. But there is a pretty good-sized core of folk who get stuff done. Just get stuff done. And you know who you are. Thank you so very much. You're creative, you're energetic. It just is. And you know the old saying, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person. St. James is a perfect example of that. A perfect example of that. So thank you. One of the real blessings of my ministry here, one of the many blessings of my ministry here are my colleagues. I came to this place and Doug and Borden were here and working hard and helping out, and 20 years later, they're still doing it. They're still doing it. Again, like you probably don't know this, but Doug and John do the Wednesday service with Jonathan. It's amazing to have professional colleagues like this who are so helpful. Let me explain to you in a few words what the experience of most rectors of parishes that have retired clergy in it. They're told what they're doing wrong, how the sermon could have been better, or what they should be doing instead. I can honestly say none of those things have ever happened with these three men. Never. All I get is help. All you get is help. I've been trying to get John and Ruth back here for years. And John, being John, was extremely respectful of my role here and kind of the tradition of the church. And finally, a couple of years ago, they were in church and asked if it'd be okay if they hung out more often. That was exactly, is it okay if we hang around here more often? And I was like, I've been trying for years, and I had no idea when they agreed to it that both of them would just be such a big part of what we're doing. So John, I'm really glad you're back, and I know that everybody else is too. So just, again, thank you. The last note is, everybody knows how I feel about my wife. The reality is that the professional side of what she does here, nobody's a child whisperer like my wife. It just isn't. It's bizarre. So there's that, and her willingness to fulfill that role here has been great, and her willingness to be flexible around all of this has been great. And and this is a woman who, when she's not here, she's in an elementary school. That's just weird. It's like, come on. But that's where she loves to be. But more importantly, and this has been the case through my entire ordained life, it's been the case of our 33 years of marriage, we've been dating for 42 years, since we were 16, and she makes me a better me. She certainly makes me a better priest. And so when you all hired me, You know, there's a saying in the church that we try to be very, very careful that when we hire married or partnered people, that we don't think we're hiring their spouse. Now, Priscilla, we actually did a couple years later, but she really is a very significant part of why I'm able to be here, and why I'm able to kind of get out of bed in the morning and get to work. So I just wanted to, you know, publicly once again, I try to do this once a year, to thank her for her role in allowing this to happen. COVID has been particularly interesting because we spend a lot of time together normally. I mean, a lot of time together normally, and we've been together even more so during all this, and yet she has encouraged me to keep on keeping on. So if you get a chance and you want to, just thank her for helping keep us together, keep me sane, and keep your children educated and entertained. So that's about it. I could go on forever, but I don't really want to do that anymore right now, other than to say as we move forward, as I said, maybe this is a reset, a chance to say, okay, this is what we do well, this just we need to just let go. Nathan Bourne, who some of you knew or know, who was a seminarian here, used to have an expression called holding on to things lightly. And I think COVID has taught us the need for that there are some things, you know, they just maybe need to go. And then other things need to take their place. And that's the way life works. That's how things work well and healthily. So to do that, also with Alan coming on, I think is a great opportunity to do that. I will tell you, to get back to stewardship for a minute, bringing Alan on is a financial obligation that we have now that is going to be hard, but I think it's going to be, no, I don't think. I know it's going to be well worth it. So whatever you can do to help us continue to make that obligation a reality, that'll be great. He's going to work with the music program. He's going to do the adult ed piece with Jonathan while Jonathan's still here, and then take it over solely. And then we'll see where we are financially this summer about an assistant, a more classic kind of, curacy as well. But I'm looking forward to that. So I have rambled on about twice as long as I intended. Thank you again for your patience and your generosity of spirit. Any questions or comments? Seriously? All right. Then let me adjourn this meeting. What? Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Carrie's the other one who keeps me on task and sane to an extent that you have no idea. So Carrie thought it would be nice, and I agreed with her, that, because that's what I do to stay healthy, to thank the members of the executive committee who are coming off. And we've done that in 3 different ways, so all appropriate to the individual. So, and then this is, thank you, and I'll explain that in a minute. I can explain everything. And so, as I said, we try to say thank you in kind of tangible ways, in ways that make sense. And so Claire's is a piece of jewelry that Carrie found and Priscilla approved. So the 2 of them outvoted me. So I was going to get you a bottle of white wine, but Harry, however, I did get a bottle of red wine for, so thank you very much. And David, his is a bottle of bourbon. I know my peoples. So I just thank you to Carrie for the idea and for all the work that you've done and are doing, and thank you to you all. It's just amazing. Yeah. We good? Oh, you're welcome. And don't worry, within the next month, you will get the annual appeal. Adjourned. Go in peace. Thank you. I wasn't.
For sure, let's track now.